Life is messy and unpredictable.
Being able to find joy in the weeds of life is so important. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kim, and we are so glad you've joined us as we figure out how to hold joy in one hand and struggle in the other.
Welcome to Joy in the Weeds. All right.
Here we are.
We are here and we are going to talk about something that both of us are going through at the very same time.
Yep.
Well, not the very, but almost.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit ahead of you.
You're a little ahead of me. And it is probably one of the most weed and joy filled times that anyone will ever go through. So we thought we just have to.
It just makes sense.
So here's the deal. We are both moving.
Yeah. Well, I've already moved, but
But
you
you're
are.
not moved in.
Oh, that's going to be a long time. That's going to be a long time. Yeah. So that's a big thing. That's one of on the list of stressors that I think they came out with in back in the 80s. They made this list and they put them in rank order, and moving is, I think, one of the top 3 stressors in someone's life.
Yes. And it is, the whole concept of joy in the weeds, obviously I can't help but think about it almost always now when I'm in life. But it has just been so complicated, and all the emotions and feels are just interwoven, and there is literally sorrow and joy at the same time over the same thing.
Yeah. So why don't we give our listeners a minute and give them some context
Of our
of
moves.
exactly of the details. So
Yeah.
we Tim and I were called to the Greenville, North Carolina church back in the spring, and we moved. Our move-in date, the day we signed on our house, was the 30th of August, and then we moved in on the 1st of September. So we have been in our new home since the 1st of September, and we're still adapting. So what is the context of your move?
First of all, we had no plan to ever move.
Right.
Until retirement. And right before Christmas, on December 17, Chris got a call from a recruiter who calls him often. And every time he calls Chris says, "I have no desire to move. So thank you, but no thank you." And the guy called again and said, would you, I know you don't want to move, but this is pretty close to you. So I thought maybe I would at least ask. And he said, "Would you be interested in moving to Henderson, North Carolina?" And Chris says to him, "Well, I would have to speak with my wife about that and find out if she would be okay moving to the same town as her 1.5 grandchildren."
1.5. Okay, that's weird.
So,
and you meant
my
Hendersonville.
daughter-in-law is pregnant, so anyway, it's the exact same town that my son lives in, my daughter-in-law. It puts our eldest daughter within 30 minutes of us, and our other daughter, it goes from a 6-hour drive to a 3-hour drive. So
which is another grandchild.
And another grandchild there.
Yes.
That's right. So it just puts us closer to all of our children and grandchildren.
Yes.
And this is what's just so crazy, is it was the place that Chris and I have been saying we would love when we retire to have a place there and a place maybe somewhere else. And so we had actually been thinking when we retired, that would be one of the places we would like to hang our hat.
So tell me, when were you having that conversation? When did you and Chris start talking about possibly, what life would look like when you retire?
Probably July at our anniversary.
Okay. So think about it. July, and your brains are starting to think about change. Not that you have the plans for it, but that the idea is in your head. And then 5 months later
5 months later, it's just it's it's so remarkable, and I have to share, it's been such a God thing through this whole thing, and it's important for listeners to know, because that's what's contributing to this crazy, like, joy and weeds all at the same time,
Mhm,
because
mhm,
my husband, he's a CFO, and the last 2 places he's worked, they've not had controllers, they've not had full-time HR person, one of the
mhm,
places didn't have an IT person at all, and so Chris would literally do all of it.
mm,
And even though he would say, "You need to hire, you need to do," getting
mhm,
people
mhm,
to, do it has been another thing.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so and he has said, as we've been talking, and especially back in July, 'cause we always do sort of a what's the state of our union address, or the state of our
Right,
union, like, we kind of,
right.
and that involves everything.
Mhm,
And so at our anniversary, we were talking about that, and, you know, he loves where he is currently working. He's been very
mhm,
appreciative for the family and the company that he works for, but he had some challenges, and this new position
mhm,
literally addresses every single thing that he had stated as a challenge and what he wished he
mm,
could be a part of.
mm,
And uh, anyway, but that so they asked us, the recruiter just asked us on the 17th of December. We got back from Christmas vacation, promptly came down with COVID,
mhm,
and and then he started getting calls from the company itself, like the HR person and what have you, and just
mhm,
having conversations on the phone. We really still were not sure it was gonna go anywhere. We weren't very hopeful or even thinking about it until at some point, every conversation that he had with someone at the company, Chris came away saying, "Wow, I
hmm,
think I would really enjoy working
mm,
for them." And so, anyway, the offer came in a week ago,
mhm,
Sunday. So this is
mhm, mhm.
Tuesday morning that we're recording, right? No, Wednesday. What day is today?
It's
We're
Wednesday.
I'm moving. Can you tell? The offer came in on Monday around 4 o'clock, a week Monday. So it's
Yeah,
been
so
a
like
week
10 day
and
about
10
10
days,
days ago.
10 days ago.
Yeah.
And he starts today is February. What is today? February
February
9,
9. Mhm,
and he starts March 1.
mhm.
So
So it's a bit of a whirlwind, a bit.
we've lived in our house since 1999.
That's a
And
long time. 20 years,
uh
20 plus years.
So it's
But what's fascinating to me is how it seems like God prepared you in advance by because God did the same thing for me and Tim.
Mm,
Like um th- Tim had the itch, the whatever to move before I did. Like, he had been like, "Let's look around, is it time for us to move, Kim?" And I was like, No, there were so many things. I needed my kids to be in a good place. I was doing so well at my job, and so it was just like, "No, it's not the right time to move." And then there was just this moment, when we were actually approached by the conference, regarding something else, a different place, posting. That's the word I'm looking for. And Tim said, I talked to Haskell and this is what was said. And I'm like, yeah. And Tim was just like, what do you mean? Yeah. And literally in my head for about a week or two, I was like, yeah, I think my kids are good. I could move now. I would be okay with moving because I know that my kids are in a good place, and my business is sure it's doing great, but I can transfer my business. Like, transferring my business wouldn't be a big deal. So it's like the idea was planted,
mm,
and then God was preparing.
yeah.
And for us,
Yeah,
it was a
I
year. It was a year between. when the that first posting that we thought we were gonna go
Right.
to actually moving to Greenville, I think it was at least a year. But I just find that amazing how God just, like,
Yeah,
tickles
I've
you.
thought of it almost more instead of him preparing us, but I that's probably accurate, but in some ways it's felt like here we started dreaming and then
Mm.
he has just lavished on us the
Mm.
desires of our heart.
Mhm.
And it's just we talked even I mean, back at our anniversary, we even talked about selling our house because the market is so great. But
Mhm.
and getting the equity out of it and start looking towards, purchasing more like investment style type properties
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
retirement. And we but where would we live? And why would we
Right.
do that now? Because, we're still working and he's
Right.
working and all this. Well, one of the places we wanted to look into getting a more of an investment style property was Hendersonville, North Carolina.
Right. Right.
It's crazy. It's just
It's really
crazy.
crazy. It's just
It's
really
crazy.
crazy.
But it's interesting as much as it's hitting all the right buttons, and this is where the joy in the weeds comes in, like, you
Mhm.
know, no matter how much of it is just, our hopes and dreams or our prayers, our desires, man, we're still leaving the home that our children grew up in, that we built.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we moved in when it was not finished, and we had a dedication for our home and the land when we before we broke ground. And
Mhm.
we used to come out here long before we ever broke ground, and the kids would just play in the woods, and we have a creek back there. And they and so there's so many memories from the time. I mean, we first looked at the property, our son was 4 years old.
Wow.
And so this has been home, and this has been we've been part of our church family since the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And we've gone through moves with the church, and building a church and growing a
Yeah.
church and planting other churches, and it's been quite a ride. And we have such dear, dear friends that are truly
Yeah.
chosen family right here. And
Right.
so
Right.
there's so many grieves or, you know, things that we are sad about
Mhm.
leaving and emotional about. And then
Mhm.
at the same time, like if I start to think, or cry about leaving this house, we've been dreaming about other possibilities.
Mhm.
And now
Mhm.
we have those possibilities and we can't have both at the same time. And so it's, oh my word, it's just fascinating to me.
Mhm.
It's fascinating how I can be crying and the cry is out of sorrow and profound joy in the
Mhm.
same tears. Not even the
Mhm.
same, like not even at different times, right? Like moments of sorrow, moments of joy. It's
Sure.
just all into one big mash together.
So what are some of the things, because you're right in the process of it, um, give us some of the details of what the last 10 days have looked like for you as you've been navigating through this?
All right. True story. Chris
Mhm.
gets the offer at 4 p.m. on a Monday.
Mhm.
My brother and my nephew had come to stay with us on Sunday because my nephew was looking into a university that's nearby. So
Mhm.
I had company.
Mhm.
And
For those of you, okay, so the therapist in me is like, "Okay, I noticed, like, an expression on your face. Can you please tell me what that meant?"
well, I love opening my home. You know that. Like
Yes, yes,
my bend is yes, come,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
always. And I'm
yeah,
so glad I got that time with my nephew and brother. And I'm not in
mhm,
any way saying it was not good. But
right,
we're in this time when
yes,
we are experiencing the biggest change in our lives in
huge
over
upheaval.
22 years,
Yeah, yeah,
really since much longer than that.
mhm,
And
mm,
we don't even like we didn't feel the freedom. Does that make sense to even just
mhm,
sit by ourselves and kind of mull over it because we were thankfully, I mean, and it was a good thing, but we were spending time with my nephew and my brother.
Sure. Sure. So, okay, so that was the expression on your face.
Yes.
Was like the first challenge was that you and Chris couldn't, um,
We weren't
be
alone.
in you couldn't be in that present moment with that
Right.
present news and all that meant because th you had to your attention was elsewhere. So, okay.
Yeah. We
Okay,
were
so that's the first
literally
challenge.
we were literally putting our coats on in the
Yeah.
foyer right by the front door, getting ready to go out to celebrate the fact that Joel and my nephew had been accepted to the university. He had just gotten his
That's
acceptance
cool.
letter.
Wow.
And so we were going out to celebrate his news
Mhm.
when
Mhm.
Chris's phone dinged and it was an offer.
Wow. Wow. So you
So
put
we went out and
your
we said, "Well, we're celebrating both," but
it's
I'm
not the
just saying
same.
this is was
Yeah.
monumental, and we
Yeah.
didn't get to just kind of sit in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Tuesday morning, I go
Okay.
and have a meeting with my boss to talk about my position and whether or not it would
Mhm.
change and how that would work. I know some people work from home, and so we were thinking maybe that would still be possible for me, and it looks like it is. But I go in and have this long conversation with my boss. I leave the room and my phone beeps, and it's Chris sending me a text that says, "The realtor will come meet with us on Wednesday or Thursday. Which day is better for you?"
Holy cow.
And I was just like, "What?" Like, I
Yeah.
haven't had a second to even like, I
Yeah.
just found out I still have a job. We are just like, now it's just starting to sink in, this is actually happening.
Yes.
And to speak with the realtor, I mean, my house, there's so many foibles to it, and there's so much that needs to
Mhm.
be done to it, and there's so many little things and all this stuff that I just need I that's just, like, more stress than
Mhm.
I could handle, and quite
Mhm.
frankly, I was, like, heart racing, anxious at his
Wow.
text, and
Hmm.
I replied, "Okay, seriously? If we must, Thursday, please." That was
Right.
my,
Yeah.
response, and and then it's just been it was a whirlwind, just a complete and total whirlwind of figuring out, what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do it, what's the process gonna be for getting the house ready, what's the process gonna be for moving over there. I had to go up and spend a day trying to find a place because we're not trying the market is horrific up there for trying to find
Mhm.
a house. I mean, quite literally, and I'm not exaggerating, you can go look at areas and there'll be 0 for sale. So, like, just nothing available.
Wow.
Um, so we just said, "Hey," one of the things this is another thing, we've always said we wanted to try, like, loft or apartment living with a walkability, like being able to walk to a restaurant or
Mhm.
walk to,
Mhm.
just walk or whatever. Anyway,
Mhm.
we've actually found that, and so here in the interim, God's just blessing us with that
Mhm.
desire, and it may only be for a short time, or we may decide we
Mhm.
really love it and do that for longer, but, um,
Mhm.
anyway, but I had to go up and try to find a place and find the apartment, and, it's challenging to find one on the right day that you can move
Mm.
in on the right day, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, it's it has been crazy, and right now, I in fact, we are starting late recording because I got up, I did my hair and makeup because we were gonna do this, and I headed off to the office because I just need to get away from all the craziness of the
Mhm.
projects and the dirt, it's a mess,
Mhm.
and I thought I'll do 1 full day of work and then, anyway,
Mhm.
I get to the office and open my computer bag, and my computer's not there. I mean,
Sorry, my
so I
hair
had to
looks
jump
really
back
weird.
in I had to jump back in the car and rush all the way home and, try to set up food
Yeah.
anyway. So, it's just things are just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mind is just a million things going on
Mhm.
at one time,
Mhm.
and, I can't walk in any space in this house without thinking, "Am I getting rid of it? Am I putting it in storage?
Mm.
Or am I putting it in the apartment?"
So
And
what's that so you found a place.
I did, yes.
That's very good news.
We're very excited. I mean,
Yeah.
an apartment, but just for, temporary, but we found it, so
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So
But yeah,
so at this
go ahead.
point, you're going through all like, I mean, you're going through a lifetime. Like, 20 years is a lifetime
A
of
lifetime.
memories.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm thinking of that, right beside between your kitchen and your living room, where that wall that has all those marks on it. What are you gonna do
Yes,
with that?
all the kids' heights, and it
Yeah,
ended up being anybody, like, all our kids' friends
yeah,
and church
yeah.
members and their kids and everybody. In fact, we just had some friends come over this last Sabbath, and the kids said they wanted to get their marks on the wall for the last time. So, yeah,
So
a
your
life.
kids were all home on Sabbath, this last Sabbath?
Yes, so they all
What was
decided that they
Yeah.
wanted to come home one last time, so they all came this
So what was
past
that like?
Sabbath.
What do you guys do? If you want if I mean, you don't have to answer any of my questions, but
Yeah, we just, I mean, hung out. We had traditional food that we've normally had, like on the
Mhm,
weekend or on, Sabbath. And our church ended up being canceled. That's a whole nother story we're not gonna get into. But anyway, so we were just at home, which turned out to be such a
mm,
blessing. And we just spent the day and time together and playing and, just
mhm,
talking and reminiscing, did a lot of
mhm,
reminiscing.
mhm, mhm.
Told the kids to go through the house and shop. If there's anything they wanted, take it.
Oh,
If there's anything they don't want, don't expect me to have it at the next place.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Unless you tell me, if it's something
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So, yeah, it
Wow.
was lovely. It was so wonderful. I'm less emotional about leaving the house than I ever thought I would be.
Really, what did you think it was gonna be like?
I just imagined it would be really rough for me because this has been, there's a lot of sentimental, like, so many memories that have been here.
Mhm.
But I think all the things that are important are over there now, and so
Because
to be
it's the people that are
it's the
important.
people. So,
Yeah,
yeah, my kids, my grandkids. To be able
yeah.
to be Grammy to, my grandchildren, eh, even my daughter who'll be 3 hours away, you can get up and be there
Yes, you can do
early in the
that.
morning when it's
Yeah.
3 hours. When it's 6, it's a whole day. And
Mhm,
so
mhm,
to be able to just jump in the car and go spend the day with them and come back will be wonderful, or just,
mhm,
you know, my son and daughter-in-law, if they wanna go on a date night, be able to just drop the kids by and
mhm,
go out to eat will be just the dream of my heart. So,
mhm.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that makes, like, the other option would just still be in these walls, and that just makes them walls. Does that make sense?
Right,
And so
yes.
I would
Uh-huh,
much rather be there. So,
uh-huh.
I don't really have any sadness. I mean, I laughed the other day. I said, "I think our friends and church members and are sadder about us selling the house than
Mhm,
we are."
mhm, mhm.
So,
So what are some of the memories that come to mind as you walk in the hallways and in the rooms?
oh my word. I mean, we have a picture this weekend. We reenacted I've never done that before, but we reenacted a picture that our friends took when our very first night here in the house. So they came out and
Mm,
surprised us and brought us, like homemade bread and some other things our very first night moving in. And the kids were all in their pajamas and they came out on the porch and they took a picture of our three kids standing on the
mhm,
porch. So we
mhm.
had our three kids pose the same way and stand on the porch and took a picture of them this last, so it's like the first night and their last night, or
Right,
their first
right.
anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, there's just too many to even think about. I mean, it's not just been our family. We've kept it so open to everyone. And so we've had, recruiting teams. I mean, 13 years I managed recruiting teams for Mount Pisgah Academy. And what
Mhm,
that meant, what I would have 8 students for 6 weeks that we just toured the Carolinas. And we always ended up spending some of that time here at the house with all those
mm.
kids. So, 13 years of teams, it's a lot of kids
That's a
that have
lot of
spent time
kids.
here. And so, there's just a lot of things. But yeah, I'm still very happy to be going.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. My brother said, somebody's probably going to come in and want to rip out, or totally change even the things that I've just done. And I said, I'm happy with that. I hope they do.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want them to love what I love. I want them to, you know, make this a home and be excited about
Right.
living here.
Right.
So, I don't
Yeah,
care.
because that's the other thing on that you didn't mention is your house for the longest time, there were dreams of how you wanted to decorate. And just recently, last couple years, you've been decorating exactly how you want it. Like your guest bath has a black ceiling and black walls, which is like the coolest thing. So you've been making
It
so
sounds
many
gross,
changes.
but it
No,
sounds gross,
it
but it's really
absolutely looks
beautiful.
amazing. It really should be in a magazine. But all those things that you've been doing, and it what I'm hearing from you is those are just things,
Yeah,
because
it's
what
also more
matters
th
is the people.
it's also more than that because, Kim, what we realized as we were sitting here talking about this whole thing is that if we had been in the state because 2.5 years ago, we didn't have any baseboards in the whole entire house. We still never
Mhm,
gotten that done.
mhm,
And so there are other projects like that that had been unfinished for, 20 years or
mhm,
19 years or whatever. And so we started the process of finishing the house.
mhm,
And there's a tiny bit that we have to get done and we're getting it done this week and next week. But
mhm,
um but other than that, we had gotten so much done. If we had been in the state we were 2 years ago where all
mhm,
these things were not done, I don't think we would have even considered this as an opportunity that we could afford to do
mm,
because it would have been overwhelming to think about the process of cleaning out areas. We had some areas that were so bad that, it was just it would just been crippling. And we still have
mm,
some of those spaces. They're just a lot fewer of them because we've been working
mhm,
really hard.
mhm,
And we've been working really hard at repainting and making things look nice and finishing things and making sure things are what we had wanted them to be.
mhm,
And so instead of seeing this as a great loss that I don't get to stay in this space,
mhm,
I see it as what a gift that God prompted us to
mhm.
get busy doing it because it
Exactly,
opened up this opportunity for Chris to have a
exactly.
job he really is excited about doing,
Mhm,
and us to be where we really want to be, which is close to our children
mhm,
and to be able to be Grammy and Grandpa. I mean, that's,
mhm,
there's no greater joy than that. So
mhm.
even that, yes, I mean, yes, am I sad I'm not going to have that fantastic looking black bathroom that I have? 100%. I'll have to post some pictures so people can
Yes,
go
you will.
look at
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
But, I'm really sad. I looked
Mm.
forever for the perfect mirror to go on that wall,
Yes,
and
you did. I
and I
can attest
finally
to that.
found it, like, more perfect than I
Yes.
could have ever dreamed. And so,
Yeah.
yes, am I sad about that? 100%. That, like,
Mhm,
I sat the other day and I just looked at the moldings, you can see a little bit of them on the wall behind me, and
mhm.
that Chris so lovingly put up with me, and I sat there and I was just looking, I said, "I'm gonna so miss that wall." I
Yeah,
mean, that's so
yeah,
silly, but yes, I'm gonna miss it. But at the same time, I
yeah.
am so ready to say goodbye and live in
Mhm.
our little apartment for a while on top of a whole bunch of restaurants and different places that we can just go walk to and go out to dinner. And, that's we've always dreamed of that kind of life. And so we're super excited to be able to do it
It sounds
for a
so
time.
romantic. Like, it
I
sounds
know.
like something from a rom-com movie, living above the
Yeah, I told Chris it's gonna feel like we're on vacation all the time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
wow. You're gonna have
So
to
we're
really
super
downsize though,
excited.
aren't you?
Yeah. What?
You're gonna have to really downsize?
Well, we're moving things in storage
Yeah.
and we're moving things into the apartment. But 100% we are downsizing big time.
So you really have to
Um,
think about, okay, what do we need in the apartment and what can I live without, quote unquote,
for
until
sure. What is gonna be in the apartment? What are
Mhm,
we willing to store for
mhm,
potentially later on a house?
mhm, mhm.
And everything else we're getting rid of.
Wow.
So we are purging big time. But I
Wow.
I see this as the most glory, there's a lot of mess in this house. Talk about weeds. There's a lot of weeds in this
God
house.
bless.
Like, it's so bad. But can I tell you, it's leftovers from depression and it's leftovers from,
Mm.
you know, just being completely overwhelmed and not able to function the way I should have been
Mhm.
functioning, and
Okay, we
being a
don't should
mom.
on we don't should on
I
ourselves.
know. Oh, you're right. We don't should. But being able I mean, being a mom of 3 small children,
Mhm.
and
And wanting it to be different, but it couldn't be.
it couldn't be.
It couldn't be.
And so I just see this as the most glorious opportunity to really change everything.
Yeah.
And, I tend to be like, sometimes people come in and they see, like, if you look at my main space here in the living room where I've been working really hard to get it like I like it to be. Well, I'll just give you, the realtor came in and says, "So put out some more of your stuff, like just zhuzh it up a little bit." Like, what
Mhm.
realtor says put out more of your stuff? So that tells you I like it very sparse and
Yeah.
clean
Mm.
and almost towards bare.
Mhm.
Um, and so, but I, but I feel like I'm schizophrenic because this house, there's so many corners that are so bad, just where things
Mm.
have been stuffed. In fact,
Mhm.
to maintain my sanity, a lot of
Mhm.
times, if I don't have a perfect place for it or I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, I just go stuff it somewhere
Mhm. Mhm.
because I would rather stuff it than have it in the space, you know, just in the space.
Mhm.
And so because of that, there's a lot of drawers and a lot of closets and a lot of corners and a lot of
Mm.
spaces that are awful, and they've
Hmm.
got to be, so there's a lot of work ahead of me. But I am so those are the weeds. There's I mean, just having the movers come and have to walk around my house was rough
Mm.
because I'm not proud of the state of you know, all the closets. That makes
Mm.
sense?
Mhm.
And so, but at the same time, I see this as I'm willing to go through this pain because on the other side, I can start fresh with every drawer and everything in a place and nothing I don't need, and only the things I really want or really like,
Hmm.
and not hanging on to, an old dresser that I've painted 3 times just because I needed another dresser. And now it's just because it holds a spot on the floor, right? Well,
Right.
I'm not going to move them. So
Right.
things like that. This is
Yeah.
just giving me the opportunity to really, really just purge and,
Mm.
let go of. And
Mhm.
for me, it's letting go of more than the things. It's letting go of the shame associated with the clutter. It's letting go
Mm.
of just it's really like weeding a garden. And I to stick with our weed thing, and I just feel like what I'm doing is pulling out all the weeds, and I'm leaving the things that are beautiful or that have a
Mhm.
chance to grow and become what I want it to be someday.
Mhm.
And everything else, we're just getting rid of it. And we
Mm.
move to the new place, it will be weed free.
Wow. That's that's really cool.
Yes, it is. So do you see though the weeds and the joys? I mean, we've always
Yeah.
talked about joy in one hand and weeds in the other, and you can have them at the same time. I don't think I ever thought, I guess I kind of looked at that as being, okay, eh, you can be having grieving the loss of someone, but thankful for the fact that, I don't know, a friend is there for you, right?
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
this is so different for me in that it's almost like, oh, man, I shouldn't have used grieving the friend because I mean, that's terrible. Like, that's a bad analogy. Because what it is it's both in the same thing, and you would never have joy over the loss of a person, I would not think, I don't know. So, but does that make sense? It's like the
Well,
very
actually, that might really be a good analogy, because what if you've had a loved one who has had cancer
oh,
and has
yeah,
been living with cancer and has been suffering and suffering and suffering. And so there is an element of joy and relief. Maybe relief is a better word, which is not what you're experiencing, but there's that, "Oh, they're
right,
finally not suffering anymore, and I'm gonna miss them something awful."
yeah.
So
Yes.
that might bend a little bit more to the grieving side of things, to the weedy
Right.
side of things, whereas
Right.
yours to the joy where the yes, there are weeds and they're easier to manage and to deal with, um, than, the death of someone who's had cancer for a long time. But they're both there present in the same moment because
Yeah.
of the same thing.
Yeah. That's true. Thank you. Yeah.
You're
So
welcome.
that's
That's why I get paid the big bucks as a therapist. I can figure these things out. Oh,
it's
yeah.
something.
It's something. And then on top of that, all the stress of moving. I mean, that's very, very weedy. Just that.
Just the fact that I left my computer at home, picked up the bag, and took the bag to work
Yeah.
without my computer in it. It just goes to show how there's just so much consuming my mind right now. In fact,
Yeah.
we were talking about we need to do a podcast, and I was like, "Kim, we can talk about moving, but I don't think I can talk about anything else
That's too funny.
because my I just don't have the bandwidth. Like it's
Yeah.
just all consuming." All right,
So
so we've talked way too much about me. I get to ask you
oh,
questions.
okay.
So you are now in a house, but you said you were far from settled. So explain that and what are you doing right now? What are you going through and how is that joy in the weeds for you?
Uh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna back up a little bit and talk about how I don't know if we've publicly talked about this house that Tim and I moved into. We came to Greenville one weekend and we looked for a house and we put an offer in on a house. It was stunning. Like, it was
Mm,
a beautiful house. It was in an established neighborhood. It had this room that that was going to just be the room where you put lots of plants, and it had a
mm,
fireplace in it, and it was gonna have the warm cozy, and there was gonna be no television in there, and it was just gonna be a place of, I hate to use the word, but, it just very zen, just very, very peaceful, and I fell in love with that room. Like, I fell in love with
mm,
this house. We It wasn't the ideal place for Tim, um, and it had a smaller lot. So, he was like, "Okay, we'll put an offer in it. I can do these changes wherever we're gonna go. We're gonna make changes because that's just kinda how we roll." So we put that offer in. Well, the offer did not go through,
mm.
though we were, one of 3 that they were considering. It didn't go through. So I'm, like, disappointed. I'm like the very next morning, I open Zillow, and the very first house is this house. And it has an almost of an acre lot. It
Hmm.
is out in the country. There's houses around us, but it's
Right.
kinda like, a subdivision in the country. It is the shape of house I like. I look, I'm like, "This is our house. Like, this is our house." I immediately texted Tim, and I sent him pictures. I said, "Look at this. This is our house." And he said, "Yeah, we put an offer in without even seeing it with our eyeballs,
Wow.
and they took our offer." And then we went into then we went in it. Our real estate agent, well, she went and saw it for us. She says it smells like dog, but I mean, that's like carpets and stuff. And then she went into a room and, well, we were gonna change that anyway. So we got the house, we went in and saw it, started dreaming, we're gonna make things a little different. We're gonna do this. We're gonna, take this piece of wall out. We're gonna make it more like we want it. Um, anyway, so we move in, and then when we are there, all the dopamine is out of our brain and reality sets in. When dopamine is in your brain, you're very, very happy. And you don't see flaws. So we get in there, and we believe they had 4 dogs in this house, 2 big ones and 2 little ones. We believe that the big ones thought that the wall in the living room was a good place to relieve themselves.
Mm.
So it's all bubbled up. That wasn't where the smell came from. The smell was actually from the carpet in the master bedroom. We took that out. Anyway, so what's happened is the cosmetic things that we were going to change have kind of upped, like, have so
Have
we are
grown and grown and
yes,
grown.
yes. There's even the door handle in the in the guest bath or the main bathroom, the door handle has teeth marks on it.
Wow.
Dog teeth marks. Like, it's so these dogs had their way in this house. So what we oh, and the first time we went to take a shower in our master bathroom, which was going to be the very last thing we were going to touch. We didn't like the layout of it. We were going to make some changes, but that was going to be like 5 years down the road.
Right.
That's
Right.
what we were going to do. So we Tim goes to take a shower in the shower in the master bathroom, and he turns around and he looks at the little seat area, and there's a great big crack in it. So we can't take a shower because there's a crack in the shower that the inspector did not see.
Hmm.
So, needless to say, the very first thing we've been working on is renovating the master bathroom. The bedroom is all set. The only thing I don't have in the bedroom, that's what I did. I said, let's make our bedroom
Yeah.
just a place where we can exhale. All we had to do there was pull out the carpet, put we covered the floor with like an oil-based paint so that if there was any smell underneath, it wouldn't come up. We put new flooring on. We bought all the flooring for the house, but we put the flooring there, painted the walls. It's got a cathedral ceiling in there. I got a new bedspread. It looks fantastic. All I need to do is put pictures on the wall. So that was done. So instead of working on my kitchen, which is what I really wanted to work on just to make it more homey, we ended up working on the master bathroom. And because I work 3 days full time, and I can't do a lot. Like, I do the painting, but I can't do the wall construction. I don't do the mudding. I don't do all that. So Tim has a full-time job. So since October, we've been working on this master bathroom. But I have to say that the shower, I have a beautiful two-headed shower thing for a stand-up shower that's all beautifully tiled. My soaker tub is in. Even the toilet is in. The only thing that we have to do now is put the vanity in and then do a lot of the finishing touches. And I'm refinishing the vanity. So really the reason that we're not settled is because what we thought were going to be construction cosmetic things have grown into these very, very large projects. Very large projects. However, I'm going to have the home of my dreams. I told Tim
Oh, Kim.
we are never moving. It is the weirdest thing. Years ago, when we first got out of college, because we were married and Tim was doing his master's and I was doing my undergrad, when we moved back to Ottawa, which is where we met, and Tim was going to do some teaching, this real estate agent was helping us find homes, and we were looking at modular homes, and there was this wonderful little cottage-like home that was called the Tiger Lily. Well,
Hmm.
Tim was going through his files the other day, and he came across that file, and it had the Tiger Lily, and he said, "Take a look at this." And I opened it, and I said, "That's our house."
Oh my
The
word.
design of that little tiger lily
Right.
is very similar to the design of the house we are in now, and that has always been my dream house. I don't want a big house. I wanted a quaint, little, sweet cottage type house.
Yeah.
It's always been my dream, and I'm in my dream. It's so cool. So
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
how are
that's
you
go ahead.
I know because I've been there a lot. We tend to get ourselves into projects as well. But how are you guys managing all the construction?
It's very chaotic. It's hard. It's harder on Tim because he has a very orderly mind. I have a messier mind, and Tim has an more orderly mind.
Right.
And he has a lot, like, he's got a lot of church stuff on his plate, and he's got a lot of house stuff on his plate. So he kind of carries most of the responsibility. And then my job is to just come alongside and do whatever. Um, there are times when it's just like, I'm gonna go like, there's dust all over my kitchen because we've been sanding, drywall, and I have to get all of this dust out of here so that I can make supper.
Yeah, so I've been watching your progress, on Facebook, and
Yes.
I'll the day I just cracked up, the day that it showed Tim painting, and
Oh, up
then
in the bedroom?
I don't know, but
Okay.
then, like, 5 minutes later, you decided that he was gonna tear out the wall in the living room.
Oh, yes. Well, because you see
But you know what I'm saying? Like
but you see, when you're waiting on when you're doing painting, well, the painting was probably our bedroom painting, or maybe he was doing drywall in the bathroom, so that has to cure. You can't do
Right.
anything, and my darling husband, like, when he's got a list of projects, we gotta get on it,
Mm,
and he just had a hankering, "We're gonna tear down this wall." So we did. We just tore down the wall. And it's wonderful because now I don't have this thing in my way. Now my living room and my kitchen are just all one open space.
yeah.
And as soon as the bathroom's done, he's gonna be building me an island, and he's gonna redo the cabinets, and I bought my new stove already because it takes a long time to get things, so I bought my new stove, and I'm going against all everything I see on these home improvement shows. The sink is in the island and the stove is against the wall. I don't want it that way. I'm putting my stove on the island and I'm putting my sink against the wall because that's how I want it.
There you go. That's the joy of redoing things.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so there's lots of different lots of projects. And while the bathroom is the main one to finish that we're finishing, like that's the focus, other things come in and, you know, when we have to wait on something, then we do work on something else.
Right.
And we do a lot of dreaming.
You
A
guys
lot of
are something.
dreaming.
I love watching the progress because, well, first, it's just fun. I love that kind of thing, but it's also just fascinating to watch, like, how much you're diving into. It's crazy.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, I cannot wait to post the before and after of my vanity. I got an old dresser for like $100 at the Restore, and I have refinished it, and I think that's my new passion. Refinishing furniture is so much
Really?
fun. Oh my word, it's so much fun. You strip away the old, but you leave the scars that matter.
Hmm.
And and then you sand it down and you finish it and you don't make it look perfect because it's those dings and those scars that
Right.
mean something, that make it, like, give it some depth and some meaning. Like,
Right.
this isn't just a, and then you put the new finish on it, so the ding is there, and and it I don't it's coated in the new. So it takes on a whole new meaning and a whole new, and it is just it is so fun. It is so fun.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I
So,
love it.
can you say you've learned anything new about Joy in the Weeds? Or
In
anything
this
you've been
process,
reminded of? Or anything you think people should think about when they're moving with Joy in the Weeds?
I can't think of anything right now. I really I like you, I really enjoyed the move.
Hmm,
Um it is so the leaving behind, though there are people that I left behind, my kids were already gone, and my kids are moving here, in the spring, so just like you, I'm gonna have my even though right now I'm further away from my kids, they're actually gonna be closer, and
hmm.
that's to me, that's what matters.
Right,
It's the
right.
people that matter, so, um, yeah. The only thing I would say is just let it be what it is. be what it is.
Mm.
If it's sad, be sad. If it's happy, be happy. If it's a mixture of both, do both. What would you say?
Something well, yeah, something I think that just really has been sticking out in my mind in this whole process is, you talked about God preparing us. I talked about maybe it is
Mhm.
more that, it feels anyway like we dreamed and then he, has
Mhm.
been blessing us with some of those desires of our hearts. But regardless, even in this process of the actual moving and, trying to find a place, I mean, I'm looking at apartments and they're like, 900 square feet to, 1,200 square feet.
Mhm, mhm.
Just my main living area is 1751, and then I have another
Mm.
1751 downstairs, full daylight basement, whatever. And
Mhm.
so it would have been real easy for as I go into all of those places to just really focus on the limitations. But, you know, I've been looking at it and trying to in every single situation. Yes, I'm grieving. Don't get me wrong, Kim. You don't have to,
Mhm.
I know I'm sad when I need to be sad,
Mhm, mhm.
or when I'm having the feels. I'm letting that happen. At the same time, hope and dreaming
Mm.
about what can be. I've just
Mm.
found to be so Chris and I have always done this our whole life, but I have found it during this time to be so therapeutic to be able to hope for, hoping for what our new living situation will be like
Mhm,
or what
mhm.
we can, and it doesn't mean it'll be perfect, but what we can create
Mhm.
in a new
Right.
space
Yeah.
is hopeful or hope
Yes.
filled. And
Yeah.
we've talked about hope on here before, but just to dream, allowing ourselves the opportunity to just really dream. I
Mhm.
don't think I've done that much dreaming, this much dreaming in a very long time, if ever.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I'm just finding that to be so much fun. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
fun
I agree.
to dream. And I
Yeah.
think it really helps bring the joy, the element of joy, when it would be easy to just, oh my word, how on earth am I going to fit into 900 square feet? Or
Yeah.
how am I going to let go of enough things so I can fit in 900 square feet
Yeah,
when,
right.
or boy, the housing market is so horrible,
Yeah.
so we can't even find a home. I mean, there are lots of things I could be saying, but
Sure.
instead, Chris and I have the opportunity to live on a really noisy street above retail and walk downstairs to go to,
Mm.
out to eat. I mean, and we've
Mhm,
always wanted
mhm.
that opportunity.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
here, and yes, will there be parts of it we don't like? Absolutely. We're gonna miss our
Sure.
birds in the country, right? And
Yeah,
we've lived in
right.
the country
Yeah.
forever. But to look at and to dream about, the new possibilities that there are has really made
Mm.
it's lessened the weeds that could have been there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good.
it's like,
I don't
there
know what
you
else to
go.
say.
That's profound, Kim.
Oops, I'm sorry. I'm in my head and I'm like, yeah, Tim and I mean, we still do it. We'll sit down and we'll dream. I mean, yesterday I changed my mind about something, or 2 days ago I said we were just gonna do can lights in the kitchen. Could I get pendant lights and put them over the island? And Tim was like, "Well, of course you can." And it was like, "Okay, so that's a change and that's gonna mean he's gonna have to alter something." But there's that dreaming is just constantly
Yeah.
dreaming is dreaming is really something. I mean, it's just fun. It's just fun.
It really is, and I have
Yeah,
I will say that has been the fuel for the joy right
yeah,
now, is dreaming.
yeah, yeah.
Dreaming of, the possibility of my, grandchildren, coming over and, or just being close enough to,
Yeah,
go help them when they're sick or whatever it is. Just
whatever.
there have
Yeah.
been so many different things. A drive on the parkway on Sabbath afternoon in my car, just you're
Mhm.
just been and so we've really been letting ourselves fully go there with all the and don't get me wrong, I understand there's gonna be a lot
Of
of
course.
weeds, right?
Of
Like,
course.
of course. But I think it's a beautiful thing and important for us to dream a bit. And
Yeah.
and I'm thankful for our dreaming back at our anniversary because wow, if
Yeah.
we hadn't allowed ourselves to dream, then I don't think this would have been as exciting or felt as,
Yeah.
it may not have even been something that we were willing to consider.
Mm.
And boy, would we be missing out.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
I guess that's about sums it up.
There you go. Joy in the weeds, moving. All right. In the last 24 hours, what is something that's brought you joy, laughter, or a smile?
Oh my word. Yesterday, I had okay, this is gonna be a long story. Okay.
All
So
right. I'm going to lean back and
yeah,
get
you just
comfortable.
lean back and chill, and I'm gonna tell you this long story. So I do this workout at this place called Pure Bar, which is anyway, it's the hardest workout of your life, but they work all the small muscles, like the small muscles under your high knee and the small muscles in your arm. Anyway, it's this great workout. So this week is Spirit Week. And I normally work out on Fridays, Sundays, and Mondays because the rest of the like, I'm not gonna work out on Sabbath, obviously. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm working all day, so I don't have time to work out because I just don't. So, so this week is Spirit Week at Pure Bar, and you have to choose what kind of music we're gonna listen to because this is all done to music. I love music. And you have 2 options. So you go on their story and you choose one of the 2 options and whatever. So Monday night I go and it's like 80s music or 90s music. And I'm like 80s music and I need to be there. I need to figure out how I can go and work out on a Tuesday. So I'm like, "Tim, what are you doing? What are you doing Tuesday night?" He's like, "Well, I have a board meeting." And I'm like, "Yes. I'm gonna go work out after work." So the joy of my life, yes, in the last 24 hours was going to Pure Bar and doing my workout to 80s music. It was Flashdance. It was He's a Maniac, Maniac. And it was the Pointer Sisters. And it was the love song from Top Gun. And then, and all this great, great music. Sometimes I forgot what I was doing because I was enjoying the music so much. And I'll tell you that those words stay in your head. I don't listen to regular radio. I listen to a lot of podcasts now, but when Cameo was a baby, I stopped listening to and I just started listening to Christian music because that's what I wanted in my kids' heads.
Right. Right.
Um, so I don't even know what modern music like, I have no idea. Like the other night they did Britney Spears. I don't know any of those songs. Like, what's that? But all that music is in my head from the 80s. I was a teenager in the 80s, and I know all the words to all the songs. But I had so much fun. I was giddy. I was giggling. I was it was the best. It was mhm. So that was my joy. What about you?
That's awesome.
I was so fun. It was so fun. I felt sorry for everybody else because they weren't having fun like I was. It's like, what's wrong with you people? This is the best music in the world.
It's so funny. Um, okay, so in the last 24 hours, I'm sorry, it's going to be about moving,
Of course.
but we, so the apartment that we've gotten, I told you is above retail and what have you. And so we're just really excited about that. But when we went to look at the apartments, they only had one apartment that was available in the time frame that we needed. And it was super small
Mm.
and it was facing like the backside. So it was more like just parking lot and other
Mm.
buildings.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I really wanted to be facing the main street and all
Of
the hubbub
course. Of
or
course.
something beautiful. Like I'd take that too. But if
Right.
you're not going to see something beautiful, give me the
Right.
people walking on the street to watch.
Right. Right.
And so anyway, so but I looked at several other things. We even looked at a house to rent and we had asked about somebody else that we know who rents and but theirs was not available. Anyway, it seemed like everything was going back to maybe that would be an option. And I finally just told Chris, well, we had kind of checked it off because it was so small, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And finally I said, I'm just going to go back and look at it one more time just in case.
Mhm. Mhm,
because it
mhm.
was the first one I'd seen after seeing
Mhm.
everything else. Maybe it's not as bad as I remember.
Right, right.
Anyway, I went back and looked at it, and when I was there while I was there, I asked because there was one other one that was where we would have liked it to have been, but it
Mhm,
wasn't coming open available till almost the 1st of April, end of March,
mhm,
1st of April. So about a month too late. And
mhm,
so Chris and I talked, well, maybe we could come up with something else in between. Can you imagine?
mhm.
I mean,
Mm, mhm, mhm.
but we were just trying for any options, and anyway, and I'm asking, there is a man there who evidently is in charge of when people move out, and he said, "Well, I just got the request from them that they want elevators and such ready on the 18th of this month."
Oh,
So she said, "Well, let me find out for you." I went upstairs to measure the other place, the small place, to see if we could get our furniture, enough
sure,
of it to fit so we could make it
sure.
work. And when I came downstairs, she said, "Well, they are moving out on the 18th, so it will be ready by March 1st when you want to move in." The bigger one on the main street
Wow.
that we wanted.
Oh,
And the
wow,
reason
how
this is
awesome.
last 24 hours is we just found out yesterday morning that we were able to get it, and that,
Oh,
it's no longer on the website available because it's ours. So we're
that is
super excited.
fantastic.
So it just, but that it's been that so many
Yeah,
things, so many times, and
it
it's
just
just
lines up. Yeah,
it just lines up, and I'm
yeah,
just so thankful. I'm just so
yeah.
thankful, but yeah, that was my great joy. I was so excited, and then we had movers come, and to be able to tell them, like, where we're going and what the size and,
Right,
all the things, it was
right,
just nice to
right.
know. So it made the process. It's just perfect timing. God is so good.
That's fantastic. That's
Anyway,
fantastic.
good to see you, Kim.
Good to see you too.
The next time we record,
You're gonna be
well, maybe
not
not.
there.
I may still be here, but I may not be. I'm not sure. It depends on when we record. Anyway,
Good
but
point.
yeah, I'll definitely
Good
be a
point.
lot closer the next
Yeah,
time. So, anyway, well, hey, thanks for doing this, and, yeah, if you're out there experiencing, or if you're getting ready to move, let's put it
yeah,
that way. If you're
yeah.
getting ready to move, know there's gonna be so many weeds, but also a lot of
A
joy.
lot of
So,
joy.
be willing to dream a little.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
Bye,
bye.
guys.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We would really love to hear from you. So please find us. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Joy in the Weeds. You can also email us. Our email address is joy@carolinasda.org. That's joy@carolinasda.org. Now, we hope that today, as you navigate the weeds, you will also hold on to moments of joy. This podcast is a production of the Carolina Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.